Greetings and welcome, folks. Ray Adams here, and I have a very special edition of Match Play with Ray Adams today. It's a continuing series about inclusivity and diversity in golf and in, well, everything in life, and how our great game includes just everybody. I'm at San Marcos Golf Course, one of the most historic golf courses in the United States, the oldest golf course in existence here in Arizona. We're in Chandler at San Marcos, and I'm so grateful to all of them for hosting us. And we're at the I Got This Foundation Golf Tournament. Now, this is Amy Bockersteady. You might know Amy, who's been on the show several times. And this is her foundation when she said, I got this to Gary Woodland at the Phoenix Open a few years ago, blasted out of that sand trap at number 16 at the TPC Scottsdale, made the putt. And the I Got This slogan and foundation was born, helping people all over. And this is their big charity tournament today at San Marcos Golf Course. And we thank them also for hosting us. You know, I have a special edition today, as I said, about a person who is a producer, a writer, an actress, and an advocate for people with disabilities, and especially performers with disabilities in Hollywood. I'm talking about a lady that has been an actor for 30 years. She's been in all sorts of television shows, movies, producing and writing and acting, as I said, like CSI and Sons of Anarchy and New Amsterdam and Dark Hearts, her own short film that's going to be turned into a television series soon. Who am I talking about? I want to welcome Eileen Grubba to the show today. Eileen, hello.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Well, I've got to ask you, first of all, before we get started on your career, tell me about this I Got This Foundation and the golf tournament that you're here for with Tracy Hupka and Amy Bockersteady. How did you get involved?
Well, Tracy came out and helped with a short film that we did that was to help get credits and experience for people with disabilities. So we made Dark Hearts with almost no money, with a whole team of volunteers, and Tracy was one of them. 80% of the cast crew from beginning to end, writers to post-production, were people who had disabilities. And then we, during the pandemic, took this film out to festivals around the world, and we won awards literally all over the world.
Yes, you did.
To gain exposure and credits and experience for people with disabilities, because that's something we've been working hard to do for many years in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So that's how I met Tracy.
Wow.
And then Tracy invited me to come be a part of this wonderful golf event, which is sort of doing in the golf world what we're doing in the entertainment world, which is giving people an opportunity to get training, skills, and an open door to try and learn new things and follow their dreams.
Finding them a platform so that they can play golf, enjoy the game, like you're finding platforms and ways to advocate for people with disabilities, especially the Hollywood acting and directing and writing community. And we're going to talk about that more with Eileen, but let's get you from Anchorage to Hollywood. Anchorage, Alaska. I've been to Anchorage. It's absolutely
so
gorgeous.
It really is.
And I actually stayed with friends on Lake Nancy outside of Anchorage a few years ago. It was like a dream come true to go to Alaska. But Eileen, at 5 years old, in Anchorage, I take it.
No, we had just left Anchorage.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was born in Anchorage, Alaska. I'm part of a very big family. And I was the fifth of 8 kids, and my family moved from Alaska. My dad wanted to get away from the cold, and they started a journey across America, and they landed for a few years in Arkansas. And it was when we were getting our vaccines for school that I had a bad vaccine reaction they called Guillain-Barré syndrome, and it nearly killed me.
What happened? You were 5,
my
right?
Spinal cord, yeah.
It affected your spinal cord.
Yeah, I was just 3 months before my 5th birthday. My immune system attacked whatever was in that vaccine, and it damaged my spinal cord. And they said I would never walk again. First, they told my parents I wouldn't even live, and when I did, they said she'll never walk again. She's got permanent spinal cord damage from C1 to C4. And so they put me in a wheelchair, and that was that. But my little brain couldn't understand, and because of the way people changed around me, I was so upset by that I just said, I gotta walk because everybody will be happy again. You know, people were so upset, and my mom was always sad and crying, and financially it really damaged my family, and people started being mean, and so I just was so driven to try to walk again. So as a little child, I kept trying to slide myself out of my bed and put weight on my legs.
In those years, did they have physical therapy to help you do all of this?
They didn't.
They just said, you're in a wheelchair, you're never walking again.
They said she'll never walk again.
Were you able to go to school?
Oh yeah, I went to school. I went to kindergarten in a wheelchair, and first grade, and then I walked with a walker, and then once I got past a walker, I walked with my right leg and dragged the left one, and I slowly started moving because I knew that I could. I knew what was possible for me. I didn't care what they said.
Were your parents helping you stand up every day?
No, I did that mostly myself, to be honest. I slid out of my bed and had my weight on the bed, and I would put my weight on my legs, and often I would always fall, and my mom would come running in and be like, why are you doing that? And
so were you healing in these vertebrae that were attacked by your bad vaccine virus or whatever?
Well,
were you healing?
Well, it turns out that many years later, they've discovered that the spinal cord can rejuvenate if you put weight on it. I figured that out as a little child for some reason. Now, I've had a lot of challenges. I have a lot of the same challenges that any spinal cord injury patient has. To this day, I do. I've had my leg and left foot and everything rebuilt so many times. I've been in and out of wheelchairs all my life, and a lot of years of my career have been unfortunately on crutches or back in a chair while we did rebuilds. I had 2 more rebuilds in 2016 and 17, and now I'm finally out of braces and hiking mountains. I still put a brace on when I hike, and doing all the things I wanted to do.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
You know, Eileen, we've got to get you to Hollywood here, because I know your family ended up carrying you from Arkansas, and you ended
Florida.
up and you went to Florida. But when we come back, Eileen is going to continue this compelling story, and we're going to get her to Hollywood, and you're going to be shocked at what continued to happen to Eileen, the obstacles in front of her, and how she became a Hollywood star.
We'll be back with more Match Play right after these messages.
It's as easy as 5, 2, 3.
Doesn't get any easier.
This Houdini soul is like magic.
When you just need to launch it. I wish more of my Pro-Am partners had these.
I wish more of everybody had these.
Because golf is hard.
So make it easier.
Make it 5, 2, 3 easier.
If there was a trophy for the most forgiving clubs, these would win every year.
You want to talk about winning? You know he knows a bit about that.
Pound for pound, nothing comes close.
We're like any normal family. We just get shorter wait times because we buy and book online at discounttire.com.
So easy.
Which gives us more time for things like...
Come on, Mom.
Ready?
And it's all thanks to Kyle.
Thank you. Get 30% shorter average wait time when you buy and book online at discounttire.com.
Let's get you taken care of.
You've heard me talk about Squares golf shoes and how they help you hit the golf ball further. And many of you are saying, oh, come on, Faldo, give us a break. How is that possible? But yes, they do. And it's proven with science.
What we noticed with the Square shoes was the shoe keeps the pressure in a more stable fashion towards inside of the trail heel, allowing pressure to get to the lead side, generating much more club head speed and distance gain.
Visit squares.com. Change your shoes, change your game. Squares, the distance golf shoe.
And now back to Match Play with your host, Ray Adams.
Welcome back, folks, with Eileen Grubba. From Anchorage to Hollywood, we're going to continue on, Eileen. I understand that you also, adding insult to injury already, had to go through a cancer problem.
Yes, it was in my very early 30s. I
Oh,
was
30s, okay.
diagnosed with thyroid cancer, probably from all the x-rays and radiation. A lot of kids who spend a lot of time in hospitals end up with cancers in their early adult life. And the traumatizing part of it really was that I had already lost both my parents to cancer.
Oh.
So I was terrified, and I didn't have family, you know, to get me through it. I just, you know, I was like, what am I going to do? I don't even have parents to help me through this. But thankfully, a lot of really amazing people came into my life and it helped me through that period of time. And I never stopped fighting through that time for my career. You know, through all the years and all the challenges and all the surgeries and cancer and all that stuff, I always found a way to pay my own medical bills, fight for health insurance when there were pre-existing conditions that would keep you out of being able to buy insurance.
Wow.
I always managed to keep my career afloat by doing casting, writing, producing, as well as acting, because acting was a big challenge for a girl with a limp.
Okay.
That was a challenge.
So your family went on to Florida, and then you ended up in New York at some point,
Yeah.
and you started doing commercials and
Yeah.
and this sort of work.
Yeah.
Tell me about those days when you were breaking in. How do you go to New York,
Well,
the most intimidating city maybe in the world,
Yes.
and become an actress, especially with
A walking challenge.
a walking disability?
Well, the interesting thing is that I started my career in Atlanta, Georgia. I left
Oh.
Florida, went to Atlanta, Georgia, started my career on the stage while I was having rebuilds on my leg and back in a wheelchair. But once I got to walking again, I moved to New York City. Now that was really a challenge. And it was the first time that I really dealt with anybody discriminating. I had an agent tell me that I would never work in this industry because I walk funny.
Because you walk funny.
I walk funny. That's exactly his words. You're never going to work in this industry because you walk funny. And I looked up at the wall behind him and I said, I think I'm going to be fine. I just turned down the work that most of your girls aspire to do. I'll be fine. And I walked out the door and got one of the biggest agencies in New York City just by walking in their door and talking my way past their
Yeah.
security guard. So limp
Well.
and all, I did get myself going because I had a lot of courage. You don't get to live my life and not gain courage.
Well, Eileen, you're in New York now, and you've got an agency, you're doing commercials, and you're writing, and you're doing work there. Get me to Hollywood. How did you get over to Hollywood? Big, huge Hollywood.
Well, New York is not the easiest city for somebody who has a walking challenge. And at the time, my bones were still hitting in my legs, so it was hard for me to get around New York City.
Yeah.
So after 2 years of that battle, I had met with some casting directors who said, you should be in LA.
Yeah.
And I went out to LA where I could drive and show up at things. And I had big dreams, you know, so I hit Hollywood with like a whole lot of energy and momentum.
Did you get work right away?
No. But all the doors opened right away because of my look. And then I would go in a room and they would see my movement and those doors would slam shut.
Big discrimination.
Huge. Like every door would open and then it would shut and I couldn't get back through that door again.
But let's talk
So
about
that's how
you...
I became an advocate.
Let's talk about... We're going to talk about that, but let's
Yeah.
get you into some TV shows.
Okay.
Tell me some of your first acting
I had to
roles.
work really hard in LA to get considered for work and get past the gatekeepers. And so I remember one of the first big network shows I worked on. It was for a Fox television show called, at the time was called The Badlands, and I was hired to be an informant hooker on the street. It was a police informant, and I think the show changed. I can't remember what the title ended up being, but it wasn't The Badlands when it aired. And that was the very first one. And it was a battle through the early years to get considered, but I kept going and I kept fighting and I kept always making sure my other jobs were in the industry, so I was making connections. And then one of the big factors for my career was that I auditioned for the Actors Studio.
Yes.
And there was zero consideration for anything at the Actors Studio except your talent, your ability. That's all they cared about. They didn't care if you were famous. They didn't care if you walked. Didn't matter. And
Give
I
us
went
some
in
of the
and
names.
auditioned for that and got into the Actors Studio, and that was where I got the support that I needed
Wow.
to gain the skills I needed to compete at a high level in our industry. So I worked with people like Martin Landau and Barbara Bain, who was the first woman to win 3 Emmys consecutively in Hollywood, and Alan Miller, who's still a mentor to this day. Barbara Bain is a dear friend to this day. Carmen Argenziano, who everyone knows the face of that man all across TV and film in our industry. And these were all people who really saw what I was capable of and supported and taught me all the skills. One of the most important things they taught me was how to put all that I'd been through into my work. Mm-hmm. And I do that for a reason, because I've always taught these kids, don't shame yourself and beat yourself up because of what the world has already put you through because of your disabilities. Punch out, not in. Punch out with your art, with your skill, and they taught me how to do that.
So the Actor Studio is a place where actors go to learn their craft.
Yes.
Is acting something that someone can learn? Mm-hmm. Is it a skill that you can learn, or do you have to be born with talent?
I believe it is a skill you learn. And even the people that say they never trained, well, they trained because they started as a kid and worked with great directors on sets, and that is some of the best training you'll ever get. But I believe it's a craft, it's a skill, and you've got to train your entire career to be great at it.
All right, Eileen, when we come back in just a moment with Eileen Grubba, she's going to continue telling us about her career, but also her advocacy for performers with disabilities. See how inclusivity and diversity works. It isn't just in the golf and sports world. It's in the acting world. It's in the business world. It's everywhere. And through hard work, perseverance, and her belief in herself and all the others around her, look what she was able to accomplish so far. She has many things in post-production that she's done in 22, and it's going to be all pouring out in 23. When we come back, more to come. Stay right there.
We'll be back with more Match Play right after these messages.
Introducing the newest addition to Zero Friction's performance arsenal, the Zero Friction Laser Pro Pistol Grip Rangefinder. The Laser Pro comes with a stable, pistol-shaped comfort grip that is lightweight with an easy-to-read scope. The device vibrates when you are zeroed in on your target and conforms with USGA and USGA handicap guidelines. Shoot on point without taking you out of the zone.
Golf only exists because it's fun.
What is special about golf is the relationships. Being out there with your family, your friends, so many different chances and opportunities are presented from the game of golf.
Touring is brilliant. It's always first-class experiences. Courses that they run, they want it to be as good as possible, and it makes a big difference for the experience.
Why wouldn't you select Troon? You're selecting the best of the best. You know the quality you're getting, you know the experience you're getting. There's nobody better.
How many shots do you throw away from the sand, the rough, or even the fairway? What if there was a way you could own a great short game instantly? Introducing the all-new Alien Roswell Sand Wedge. The Alien Roswell's advanced design sole with the exclusive gravity rail system makes it nearly impossible for you to chunk it.
I practiced thousands and thousands of hours with my traditional sand wedge, but you don't have to with the Alien Roswell.
Now you can try the instant, automatic answer to solving your short game by going to aliengolf.com.
What's the one thing we always bring with us inside the golf cart? Our cell phones. Introducing the Phone Caddy from Desert Fox Golf. What makes the Phone Caddy so awesome is its sliding wings and adjustable faceplate. This allows for a perfect fit for any size phone, and you can slide your phone in and out no problem. Stuck in a cart with no GPS? There's an app for that, right inside your Phone Caddy. Keep your phone safe and at your fingertips. Get yours today at desertfoxgolf.com.
And now back to Match Play with your host, Ray Adams.
Welcome back, folks. Ray Adams here with Eileen Grubba on the set today at San Marcos Golf Club at the I Got This Foundation Golf Tournament, talking about your career, Eileen, and the challenges you went through, but the hard work that you put into it, learning your craft, but also dealing with Hollywood and how they react to people that have some physical or mental impairment. Can we start there and tell me about your advocacy for performers with disabilities and the global disability inclusion that you work for? Tell me a little bit about that and what's life like in Hollywood today with so many things that have changed and there's so much more accepting of everything. How's it going today?
Well, we've come a long way. When I first started, it didn't take long before I realized I was going to have to change the industry if I wanted to work in it. And so I set out to do that. It's how I became an advocate. And we've made great progress, and it's exponentially flowing now. We still have a long way to go. I mean, someone like me is still fighting for the opportunity to even audition for the leads on shows. You know, those opportunities haven't so much still been afforded to people with disabilities. We are like the final frontier of equity and inclusion, and people are still trying to wrap their heads around it. So people like me are writing and creating projects to show the industry how to be fully inclusive.
Like Dark Hearts.
Like Dark Hearts.
Tell me about that and how are we going to get it to TV?
Well, we told a little bit before, but now we're going to turn this award-winning short film into a TV series, and we're going to take it out to the networks and try to sell it and try to get it funded. We are going to cast authentically, and we are going to make sure that people with disabilities are in front of and behind the camera, on the writing teams, in post-production, like we did when we made the short. And that's what we do with all our projects. And I have a huge feature in the works that is the game changer for the disabled community. It is. And it's already won a massive award and a Panavision grant, and we got a big producer named Hunt Lowry on board.
Wow.
He's done 47 big features like Last of the Mohicans and big features. And he is on it, and we're now going out trying to get our A-list director, our A-list actors, and it will have a lot of people with disabilities authentically cast, because we do have a different perspective in life, and we bring a lot to the table that people don't seem to yet know about.
I remember years and years and years ago, a wonderful actress named Marlee Matlin,
I know Marlee, yes.
who is unable to speak, deaf actress, and her speaking was with great efforts, won the Academy Award.
Yes, and yet...
And that was like groundbreaking.
Yes, it was. And we still have a long way to go. We still have a long way to go. People like me who've trained and worked for 30 years should already have been on series, in series regular roles. We still have a long way to go.
Why not?
Because there's a closed-mindedness, there's unconscious bias against. You know, years ago they used to tell me, well, you can't be a female with a flaw. And I'm like, you know what? A lot of people can have a limp. Anybody can have a limp.
You actually had an agent tell you that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people who have that mindset. They're like, well, if it's going to be a girl, especially a blue-eyed blonde or something, you have to be perfect. And I'm like, you know what? I disagree with that, because the illusion of perfection that our industry perpetuates is a disservice to all of humanity, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I feel like when we shatter that illusion of perfection and get really real and start to realize that with all these limps and scars and battle wounds comes a lot of grit, determination, perseverance, survival skills that most people are gonna have to learn.
And that comes through your acting.
We bring it to everything we do.
Yeah.
We have so much to bring to the world, and the world needs it.
So discrimination comes in all forms, it sounds like, and it isn't just racial discrimination. It is
any kind of difference that people can see where they believe you're less than them for some reason. Well, I disagree with that, because I believe that we should all be only judged on our abilities and what we're able to bring to the table. And if you haven't looked at what we're capable of, you have no right to think that we aren't capable of something. So to me, equity inclusion means giving everyone a level playing field.
Yes.
And that's what is so beautiful about this.
And getting paid the same amount of money too,
yes,
right?
Equity and inclusion.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, now somebody very close to you talked to you and gave you some wonderful advice. And the only thing I remember, and I've been saying this myself for years, but it was completely apart from me that I read this about you. So I want you to tell me the story, we have 1 minute, about swinging for the fences. And as you do, be encouraging to the camera for the folks that are watching.
Okay, so I was sitting in church one day in a very challenging part of my life, a very challenging time, and I heard the sermon. The priest was saying that our job in this lifetime is to swing for the fence with everything we've got for as long as we can swing. And in the moment that I heard it, it still makes me emotional to repeat it, because I thought, okay, I can at least keep swinging. Because it was a time when I really was like, what have I done going into this industry that's never going to accept who I am? They're not even looking at what I'm capable of. But I can keep swinging for the fence with everything I've got. And because I'm swinging for so many more than just me, I can fight a lot harder. You know, I don't ever want another little kid to go through cancer treatments or major medical challenges and spend their life in hospitals only to be hurt by society because they've got battle wounds. I want them to come into a world where they are welcomed, where they are given a fair playing field and given the support they need to follow their dreams.
Yeah.
And bring their survival skills to the world and their joy and their passion. And so swinging for the fence, that's what I do. I always think, at least I can swing one more time, and just keep swinging until time's up. And everybody has a limited time on this earth, and the least we can do is keep swinging with everything we've got.
Swinging for the fences.
Yeah.
You know, that is such a wonderful lesson for life, Eileen, and it came from your priest.
Yeah.
And I can tell you this, folks, Eileen Grubba is somebody that when you meet her and get to know her like we have today, she completely breaks the mold of these Hollywood elites, the stuck-up, conceited, all the money, all of the running and doing and going. And I'm not saying anything negative about Hollywood people, but I'm just saying that we all have this vision of these famous people, Eileen, that have so much money and so much privilege, and they're so on every screen, everywhere we see them. You're so down to earth, you're so kind, you have a heart of gold, and you have come through, well, what you've come through. And she's still swinging for the fences, and that's what you and I are going to do. Thank you so much for being with me on Match Play TV today, Eileen. My best to you. We love you, and thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Folks, we're going to be back for lots more to come. Stay tuned to Match Play TV on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Thanks for being with me today.
AZ Turf & More is a family-owned and operated business for nearly a decade here in the Valley of the Sun, doing so many things in your backyard to make it the place that you really want it to be. Artificial turf, putting greens, travertine, pergolas, barbecues, fire features, pavers, and so much more.